everyone. My name is Mallory Jenna Robinson, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. I am the creator and host of the True Crime Investigative Journalism podcast, A Hateful Homicide, the only podcast that focuses on the hate crimes and murders of our trans community members. Today, I have an incredible guest with me on this incredible special of A Hateful Homicide. So many times, my audience, we focus on the violence and the hate crimes, but I also want us to think about the joy, too, that each and every one of us has an opportunity to display every day, not only for ourselves, but for those who are no longer here with us. One of those incredible people who is doing that is Van Levy. I'm going to have them introduce themselves right now and tell you a little bit more why they're here. Van, welcome.
Thank you so much. Hi, yes, I'm Van Ethan Levy. My pronouns are they, and for those who speak Spanish, ella, and thank you so much for having me here today. I'm the organizer of the Do Something Identities International Virtual Conference, where every single presenter and person organizing and involved is a trans and or non-binary person, while also being financially compensated for their labor, which is something that we almost never get. We're invited to the table, yet never compensated for our labor. And if we even look at the statistics, the average yearly salary of a trans person is $10,000, which, as we know, it's not a livelihood. So it's really important that we're both educating by the community, for the community, about the community, while supporting our labors with financial compensation.
I love that, Van. Thank you so much. And so I wanted to just kind of go into our first question. I just have a few for you and for our audience so that we can learn a little bit more. Tell us a little bit more about the Identities Conference. How was this incredible space created? What motivated it? And how long has it been around?
Thank you so much. So I might forget all your questions, but so the DSI, the first one, this is the second one. So the first one was in 2022. I would love for it to even be multiple times a year, but the reality is that I'm the one fully funding it. We rarely get enough sponsorships or even people who can afford tickets, because I do my best to create accessibility. So if somebody reaches out and they can't afford a ticket, we're not going to deny them a ticket. We have options for people to donate tickets, but let's say we had 2 donation tickets and 70 people wanted free ones. 70 people are getting free ones because the work that we're doing is so vital that I don't want money to be a barrier to prevent people from learning how to create these safer spaces. Could you remind me the other questions you asked?
Absolutely. The next question was, what motivated you all what inspired to create the Identities Conference? What was the inspiration behind it? I know that you mentioned 2022. Had there been some thoughts before the pandemic, or was it that the pandemic kind of caused the delay? Or was 2022 kind of just when you realized was a good start for you all?
So, and especially 2022, it was just me. And the reality was I was so sick and tired of constantly being invited to educate. Yet the moment that I shared something that was beyond the cis narrative, pushed out, fired, whatever it might have been, and then all these conferences that I was chosen to present at, not only did they expect me to do it for free, they expected me to pay. So they'd say, oh, you have to purchase a ticket to be able to present, and those tickets were $400, $800, $1,200 that I didn't have. And there was no room for low fee, anything at all. And expected to engage in free emotional labor, let alone people monetizing off. So the bigger reality is that's how they keep this cis narrative. So people who hold privileged identities, and not all people, but cis het, white, able-bodied, neurotypical, many more, tend to have more access to be able to have the funding to be able to pay those fees, which is how they keep the rest of our community out of these spaces, providing that education. So I continue to advocate and have conversations, and again, engage in that free emotional labor, and exhaust myself and experience nonstop transphobia, even to the extent of not that it threatened my actual livelihood. So my joy friend said to me, stop wasting your energy on these people and utilize that energy to do something for your community. And that's when I said, all right, I'm going to save up all the money I have so that I at least know that even if we don't sell one ticket, all the presenters can be paid, and everybody, like the lawyers, there's so many things that go into it. The web designer, the not app developer, the different parts that go into creating a conference. People think, oh, it's virtual. There's very low cost. Even a Zoom account costs a lot of money, in the hopes of that maybe being able to break even.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And this is very true. I know this lived experience as well. I will be at the Incredible Identities Conference, my audience, and myself in an exhibitor hour from 5 to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time coming up. And we'll tell you when that date is in just a moment. But I can tell you, Van is truly one of the most incredible beings I have ever met. As soon as I was like, sibling, I would love to have some kind of space at the Identities Conference. And Van was like, absolutely, let's find you a spot, whatever that looks like. And for someone who has been in spaces where I've provided trainings before, I can tell you all too well, yes, they want you to not only pay for your ticket, but then they want you to pay for travel, as well as, and when I say travel, that includes the plane ticket, if you have to travel outside of the state, as well as the ride shares that are involved. So it does become costly. And you providing space for community members like ourselves to come in and present the work to providers throughout the entire state and country is incredibly remarkable, man. So I just wanted to give you kudos. When is the Identities Conference occurring? Do we have a date for the conference for 2024?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. I'm definitely going to answer that, and a couple things you shared I wanted to just add to it. So to start with the question you asked, May 31st, 2024, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific. I think it's daylight time or standard time. I think it's PDT by that point. And something that's new this year that I'm really excited for you to be a part of is having an exhibit hall. So this came about, there's multiple exhibit halls that we have tried to go in to share about the work that I do, and they want us to pay $5,600 to have a booth at a conference, or $800 or all this. Like, it's so expensive, and again, that's how they keep us out. So this year, to try to get more funding, we are charging a high fee as well as that low fee, no fee availability. So folks who reach out who tell me that they can't afford it, I don't need you to prove anything. Just let me know you can't afford it. No problem. Absolutely, you get one, because again, we need people to know that we exist, to know about our resources. We need to connect our communities. We need to create these safer, accessible spaces. And just how you were sharing about all the things that go into it, from you going to present somewhere, the driving, the ride shares, all of that. That's another reason why we wanted it to be virtual. It's not just because of the pandemic, but there are people who can't even leave their homes that deserve to be able to be in community. So the conference isn't just focused on educating cis people. It's also healing for our own community and building that community.
Oh, I love that. I love healing and building for our communities. And my audience, of course, you heard May 31st, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. Please make sure that you all are there. One of the things as well, Van, I would love to ask, and I'm sure the audience is wondering as well, how can you register for next year? Where can we find you all on social media? And what else would you like for us to know? So those are kind of 3 layered questions right there. Where can someone register for next year? As well as, and we'll make sure my audience at the website and any information for the conference is put into the chat and shared with you all as well in our other platforms. But how can folks register if they are interested for next year?
Thank you. So next year, we don't know if we're having one, only for sure this year. And I will answer that in 1 second. I do want to also let folks know that I forgot to mention, is that assuming there's no technical difficulties, it will be recorded, so people can always access it. So folks can even check out the 2022 workshops, because those were all recorded. So there are a few different ways to register. I would start with folks going to the Do Something Identities.org, and that'll take you to the conference page. It'll also send you to links to register. If the tickets are not accessible to you, and you need a low fee, no fee, you're gonna want to email Janice at diversityandidentities@gmail.com and just let her know what works for you, and we'll make sure that we have your email to send you the link for the day of. So there's different places on social media. For TikTok and Instagram, my handle is Skater Van, which is S like Sam, K like Kilo, T like Thomas, R like Robert, B like Victor, A like Alpha, N like Nancy. For X, it's the same thing, X or Twitter, however folks refer to it. It's the same name, but with the number 2 at the end. And then Facebook, I believe it's Trans Advocating an educator. Honestly, you know what? I don't know why I'm blanking right now. But if you find me on Instagram, I believe I have a link tree that does connect to my other social media. Same thing with TikTok. I think that is where all the questions you asked.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to again say to you, thank you so much for you and Janice both for just like creating this incredible space. And I am a big manifester. So I am manifesting that there will be another conference next year. And you all heard it. Please, please, as you heard Van mention, there is a reality that we do not get a lot of funding towards creating these spaces. If you have an organization that does provide grants and or scholarships, please reach out to Van as well. This is the type of funding that we want to be putting back into our communities, right? When we say trans visibility, trans lives matter. This is what it looks like. Non-binary, intersex, two-spirit community members, and myself as well as Van and so many others are out here creating these spaces so that way we can know that we have a place for us, that we can go and be ourselves for ourselves. So Van, thank you for doing that with this conference and really providing a safe and affordable space. Did you have anything else that you wanted to share with us as well? I want to hold the space over for you in this interview as well for anything else.
Yes, thank you so much for asking. I would like to read the different workshop titles, if that's all right with you.
Go right ahead. This is totally your interview, whatever you want to do, my friend.
Thank you. So I'm going to go in alphabetical order. The first one is geared towards medical mental health providers. It's called Assessment and Letter Writing. And what it does is it trains people to be able to provide an assessment and write a letter in just one session. So trans people can have access to medical affirming care. And really quickly, so the reality is that a lot of therapists think trans people have to be in therapy for a full year. And if you think about that, a cheap therapist is $100. A whole year is $5,200. That's more than our average yearly salary, just to be able to gain access to do what we want with our body. Whereas a cis person, if they wanted to go have breast implants, could just go in there and do it without any assessments. So this helps helps with the gatekeeping. We're going to have a workshop on affirming care for voice and communication, exploring autism with trans clients, supporting autistic trans youth, the intersections of gender dysphoria and developmental trauma, reinforcing equity, psychological safety, and inclusion in the workplace, neuroqueering the therapy room, exploring the intersection of trans and neurodivergent identity and development, beyond survival and wounding, creating nourishing communities, moving beyond biological essentialism, clinical and ethical considerations in diagnosing, note writing, and record keeping for trans and non-binary clients. And then we'll also be featuring the award-winning documentary, which Mallory is also present in, the Do Something Trans and Non-Binary Identities, which is a call to action to support trans and non-binary folks, queer and trans histories and futures, discovering disabled deviance, making birth safer for everybody, building self-compassion for non-cis folks, narrative change for trans and queer human rights, queering therapy, engaging and redefining polydynamics as a therapist, and then navigating the legal system as a trans queer parent of a trans child.
Oh my God. Wow, that is going to be quite the workshops from last year. And it sounds like some of these are, if not all of them, are going to be for the 2024 conference as well, Ben. I want to make sure I heard you correctly.
So it kind of broke up, so I couldn't hear your question.
No worries. I was just going to ask you, those are a lot of workshops. Was there, are all those going to, from 2022, going to be at the 2024 conference as well?
Those are only 2024. I didn't read the 2022. So this is just the 2024.
Got it. Okay. See, that's even better. So now you all, my audience, have an idea of what's happening now. Were some of those workshops presented in the 2022 one ban, or are these entirely new workshops?
The only thing that's going to be the same is that 2022 we showed the documentary. This year we'll also show the documentary, but other than that, every single presentation is new. We'll have two presenters who presented in 2022 that they're presenting at this one, but on a different topic.
Oh, I love it. Get an opportunity for my audience to go in and present on anything that your heart's desire, especially around topics that really impact our lives on a day-to-day basis.